My sister's betrayal cost me everything. Then her lies were exposed on camera. Before we begin the story, make sure to subscribe to our channel and never miss more incredible stories every day. I used to believe family meant safety, that no matter how hard the world hit, my sister would have my back. I was wrong. The day everything fell apart started like any other. I was at work when my boss called me into his office. His face was grim. "We've received a complaint," he said, sliding a folder across the desk. Inside were screenshots, emails, text messages, even a signed statement, accusing me of harassment and fraud. My name, my email, my signature. Except none of it was real. I remember stammering, "This isn't me. I never wrote these." But the evidence was damning. The HR team was already waiting. By the end of the day, my badge was gone, my accounts locked, and my reputation shredded. It didn't stop there. Word spread fast. Friends stopped answering my calls. My landlord pushed for eviction. Even my girlfriend told me she needed space. I was radioactive, toxic, alone. It took weeks before I discovered who was behind it. A slip during a family dinner. My sister, smiling too sweetly, repeating a phrase I'd only ever seen in those forged emails. My gut twisted. I wanted to believe it was coincidence. But the more I dug, the more I saw her fingerprints. Conversations she'd twisted, files she'd accessed when I trusted her with my laptop. Even people she'd quietly turned against me. Why? I couldn't understand. Jealousy? Spite? Or just because she could? My parents didn't want to hear it. "She'd never do that," they said. "You're imagining things." Gaslighting me while she sat there, wide-eyed and innocent, watching me unravel. For months, I lived in paranoia, chasing shadows of her lies, doubting my own sanity. Until one night, when everything changed. At a local fundraiser, a live camera caught something it wasn't supposed to. A hot mic. A slip of her tongue. And in that moment, the world finally saw what I had always known. My sister was a liar. It was supposed to be a harmless fundraiser. Local officials, cameras, charity speeches. I wasn't even planning to go, but a friend convinced me to show up, maybe try to get back out there after months of hiding from the fallout of my sister's lies. I remember walking in, the low hum of conversation, glasses clinking, lights flashing from reporters' cameras. And there she was, my sister, smiling, perfect, shaking hands like she was some saint. Everyone adored her. To them, she was generous, charming, flawless. To me, she was poison-dressed in silk. I tried to avoid her, but fate had other plans. Midway through the event, she went up to the stage to present a donation. Microphone in hand, cameras rolling. She looked every bit the golden child. And then it happened. Between speeches, as she leaned toward another organizer, she forgot the mic was still hot. Her voice carried crystal clear through the speakers, recorded by every local station. Of course I made it all up. He deserved to be ruined. The room froze. A beat of silence before gasps rippled through the crowd. My heart slammed in my chest, the words echoing in my skull. Made it all up. She admitted it. She realized too late what she'd done. Her face drained of color, her mouth opening and closing like a fish gasping for air. The cameras were still rolling. Reporters surged forward, microphones shoved toward her as questions exploded. "Are you saying your accusations were false? Did you fabricate evidence against your own brother? Why would you do this?" Her composure cracked. She stammered, denied, tried to laugh it off, but the damage was done. The mask was slipping. I should have felt vindicated, but instead I felt dizzy, overwhelmed. After months of humiliation and isolation, the truth was finally clawing its way into the light. But I knew her too well. My sister wouldn't go down quietly. And as I left the fundraiser that night, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "If you think that little slip will save you, you have no idea what's coming." I sat on my bed, staring at the message glowing on my phone screen. "If you think that little slip will save you, you have no idea what's coming." My fingers went numb. It wasn't from an unknown number. It was blocked. No way to trace it. But I didn't need confirmation. I knew exactly who it was from. My sister had always been 2 steps ahead, even when she slipped. That hot mic had cracked her mask, but she wasn't the type to crumble. She was the type to retaliate. Hard. The following days proved it. First, my landlord called. "I've received complaints about you again," he said, his voice cold. "Late-night fights, threats, suspicious behavior. If this keeps up, you'll be evicted." I wanted to scream. I hadn't even been home those nights. Someone was staging it. Then came work. Places I'd applied to suddenly ghosted me. One HR manager finally slipped. "We don't hire people under investigation." Investigation? For what? My record was clean, but someone was spreading fresh poison. And then the worst blow, my mother called. Her voice trembled. "Your sister says you've been harassing her since the fundraiser. That you won't leave her alone. Please stop this madness." I tried to explain, but she wouldn't hear it. "She has recordings," Mom said. "Don't make me choose between you." Recordings? My gut clenched. Fabricated, of course. She had framed me before, and now she was doubling down. That night, I couldn't sleep. I sat in the dark, replaying everything in my head, wondering how I could ever prove the truth. Then I noticed the blinking light on the building across the street. A camera, pointed straight at my window. Someone was watching me. And for the first time, a thought darker than betrayal crept into my mind. Maybe my sister wasn't just trying to ruin my reputation. Maybe she was trying to erase me entirely. That blinking red light across the street haunted me. It wasn't the kind of camera the building had installed years ago for security. It was new, sleek, aimed directly at my window. I closed the blinds, but it didn't matter. Just knowing it was there made my skin crawl. Every move I made inside my own apartment, drinking water, pacing, even sleeping, felt exposed. Watched. The next morning, I went down to the building's lobby and asked the superintendent about it. He frowned. "We didn't put up anything new," he said. "Why? You having trouble with someone?" I wanted to laugh in his face. Trouble with someone? Try my own flesh and blood. But I kept quiet. If my sister could manipulate cops, HR departments, and even my parents, how hard would it be to buy off a landlord? That night, things got worse. I heard a buzz, my phone lighting up with another blocked message. "Smile for the camera. You're making this too easy." My stomach dropped. Whoever was behind that camera wasn't just recording me, they were taunting me. And my sister was the only one who wanted me broken badly enough to orchestrate something like this. I pulled every curtain tight, taped cardboard over the glass, and unplugged my laptop's webcam. Paranoia settled in like a heavy fog. I started second-guessing everything. Were the cars parked outside watching me? Was the old man walking his dog just an innocent neighbor, or another set of eyes? Then, just as I was about to collapse from exhaustion, my phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a text. It was a video file. Hands shaking, I pressed play. It was footage of me, sitting on my couch, head in my hands, staring at the floor. But then the angle shifted, another camera, inside my apartment. Someone had planted one here. And in the faint reflection of the TV screen, I saw it. A silhouette moving. Not mine. Not anyone else's. My sister's. The video froze on that reflection. A shadow. Faint, but unmistakable. My sister. My chest clenched as bile rose in my throat. She hadn't just spread lies, fabricated evidence, or manipulated our parents. She had been inside my home. My safe place. The last corner of my life I thought I controlled. I tore the apartment apart. Every shelf, every socket, every light fixture. And I found them. Tiny cameras, no bigger than a button, tucked behind a picture frame, inside a smoke detector, even in the vent above my bed. The violation was total. She wanted me to know I was never safe, that every moment of my life was hers to twist. I smashed the devices one by one. But even then, I couldn't shake the feeling of her eyes on me. When I looked in the mirror, I half expected to see her standing behind me. I called the police. They came, shrugged, and said without proof of who planted them, there was nothing they could do. Could have been a stalker, one officer suggested casually. My laugh came out broken, bitter. My stalker wasn't a stranger. She shared my DNA. That night, I slept on the floor with a kitchen knife clutched in my fist. My dreams were jagged, filled with whispers of her voice telling me I'd never escape. Then, morning, I opened my front door, and there it was. A USB drive, taped to the wood. Inside, more footage, me sleeping, showering, eating. My entire life cataloged. But it wasn't just surveillance. The files had been edited, spliced together, rearranged, twisted to make me look unhinged. In one clip, it looked like I was screaming at someone who wasn't there. In another, like I was destroying my own apartment. And at the end of the folder, one last video, my sister's face, grinning directly into the lens. "Say hi to your new reality," she whispered. The USB drive wasn't just evidence, it was a weapon. I watched in horror as my sister's edited videos twisted my reality into something grotesque. Clips of me sitting in silence were looped with sudden bursts of anger, spliced with footage of broken furniture she must have staged. To anyone who didn't know better, it looked like I was unraveling, violent, unstable. Exactly the narrative she had been spinning all along. And then it got worse. 2 days later, my phone started blowing up. Friends, old coworkers, even distant relatives were messaging me. "Is this you? What the hell is going on?" She had uploaded the videos online, carefully edited, set to ominous music, captioned with words like abusive, dangerous, unhinged sibling. She didn't use my name, but the context made it obvious. The comments section was brutal. "This guy needs serious help. His sister is so brave for exposing him. Lock him up before he hurts someone." My throat tightened as I scrolled. Strangers believed her lies. And people I once trusted, people who should have known better, were sharing it, shaking their heads in pity or disgust. The final punch to the gut came when my boss from my old job posted, "Now you see why we had to let him go." My sister had turned me into a public villain. Not just inside the family, not just in private, but everywhere. That night, I smashed my phone against the wall, sinking to my knees in the wreckage. I felt hollow, beaten. She wasn't just destroying my reputation anymore. She was rewriting my entire identity. But in her arrogance, she made one mistake. Buried deep in one of the videos, a reflection caught my eye. In the corner of a mirror, I saw her, holding the camera. She had exposed herself. And for the first time, I felt the smallest spark of hope. I replayed that clip a dozen times, my eyes locked on the faint reflection in the mirror. It was subtle, easy to miss, but once you saw it, you couldn't unsee it. My sister, holding the camera, smiling like she was filming a victory parade. She'd gotten careless. For months, she had manipulated, edited, twisted the narrative. But this single frame was different. It was raw, unplanned, unedited. Proof that she wasn't the victim she pretended to be. Proof that the evidence wasn't leaked by some concerned friend or anonymous whistleblower. It was her. My pulse raced as I paused the video, screenshotting the reflection and zooming in. The image blurred, but the outline of her face, her hair, even the shirt she'd worn at the fundraiser, it was all there. For the first time, I felt power shift. She had built her empire of lies so high, but this tiny slip cracked the foundation. I knew I couldn't rush. If I confronted her now, she'd spin another story, plant more fake evidence, gaslight everyone again. No, I had to be patient, careful, strategic. So I saved everything. Every screenshot, every file. I backed them up on cloud drives under fake names, emailed them to myself, even printed physical copies. If she tried to erase me again, she'd have to erase every version of me that existed. The paranoia still gnawed at me, but alongside it grew something else, resolve. And then, as if fate wanted to test me, another video surfaced online. This one was different, shorter, sloppier. And in the background, clear as day, you could hear her voice giving directions. "Move the lamp. It makes him look crazier." She hadn't just slipped this time. She had walked straight into her own trap. The world was starting to see the cracks. But I also knew, cornered animals are the most dangerous. And my sister wasn't about to go down without drawing blood. For months, I had been the one cornered, defensive, paranoid, waiting for her next move. But now I had something she couldn't spin. A voice, her voice, instructing someone how to stage the scene. "Move the lamp. It makes him look crazier." That one line was enough to flip the narrative. If I could get it into the right hands, unedited, undeniable, her carefully crafted image of the perfect sister, the victim, the golden child, would crack wide open. But timing mattered. If I leaked it online myself, she'd cry deep fake. If I went to the police, they'd shrug like before. No, I needed the weight of credibility behind me. Someone she couldn't buy, bully, or charm. That's when I thought of Mark, a freelance journalist I'd gone to college with. He wasn't famous, but he had one thing my sister couldn't manipulate: a reputation for exposing liars. I met him in a crowded cafe, my hands sweating as I slid a flash drive across the table. "This isn't just a story," I told him, voice low. "It's my life. She destroyed me with lies, and I finally have proof." He plugged in his laptop, headphones in, and I watched his expression shift as her voice spilled into his ears. Shock, then disgust, then that sharp, hungry look journalists get when they smell blood in the water. This, he whispered, pulling out the headphones. This is gold. If I can cross-verify, she's done. For the first time in months, I felt hope settle into my bones. Not just survival, justice. But later that night, as I walked home, my phone buzzed again. Another message. This time, no threats. Just a photo. Mark, sitting in his car, taken from the shadows. And the caption, "You're not the only one we're watching." The photo of Mark sat on my phone screen like a curse. He was in his car, sipping coffee, completely unaware that someone had been close enough to capture him in perfect detail. It wasn't just me anymore. My sister was widening her war. Anyone who dared to help me was now in her crosshairs. I called him immediately. "Mark, you need to get out of town, at least for a while. She knows you're involved." He laughed at first, nervous. "What? Your sister's gonna come after me with edited videos. I deal with liars every day." But when I sent him the photo, the color drained from his voice. He whispered, "Jesus Christ, she's watching me." I could hear the weight of realization drop into his chest. He had believed me before, but now he understood. This wasn't just about lies. It was about power, control, intimidation. The next 48 hours were chaos. Anonymous emails hit his inbox, claiming he fabricated stories, threatening to expose his shady sources. A brick was thrown through his apartment window with a note attached. "Drop it, or you're next." Meanwhile, my own world was crumbling further. The doctored videos of me had gone viral. A local news station even played clips under the headline, "Unstable man harassing family." Watching it made my blood boil. The anchor's polished voice described me like I was some unhinged monster, while my sister gave a teary-eyed interview about how hard it was to live in fear of her brother. I wanted to scream at the screen, but then something miraculous happened. As the segment aired, one of the raw files Mark had saved, her hot mic confession, leaked online. It spread like wildfire. People started questioning. Comments shifted. "Wait, didn't she admit she made it up? Why isn't this in the news?" The narrative was cracking. But when I checked my messages again, a new text waited for me. "If the truth comes out, someone won't make it out alive. Choose carefully." And attached was another photo. My mother, standing in her garden. The photo of my mother froze me in place. She was standing in her garden, watering flowers, completely unaware that someone had been close enough to snap her picture. Close enough to prove she wasn't safe anymore. My stomach twisted. This wasn't just about me. It never had been. My sister wanted control, and if she couldn't scare me directly, she'd use the people I loved as leverage. The message echoed in my head. If the truth comes out, someone won't make it out alive. Choose carefully. For hours, I paced my apartment like a caged animal. How could I keep fighting when she was dragging innocent people into the line of fire? Every path forward felt like a trap. Go public and risk my mother's safety, or stay silent and let my sister's lies stand. That night, I drove to Mom's house. I needed to see her, to warn her. She greeted me with the same tired smile, but when I tried to explain, she cut me off. "Stop blaming your sister," she whispered, her hands trembling as she set down her teacup. "You're tearing this family apart." The words hit like knives. She still believed my sister. Or maybe she was too afraid to admit the truth. I scanned the kitchen, paranoid, and that's when I saw it. A tiny blinking dot in the corner of the cabinet. Another camera. My sister had bugged her too. I ripped it out, and Mom gasped, horrified. She realized in that moment that I wasn't lying. Her hands flew to her mouth as she whispered, "She's been here in my house." I nodded. "She's watching you. She's watching all of us." Mom finally broke, tears spilling down her face. "What do we do?" And for the first time, I had an answer. We get her on camera. The way she got us. Because if she wanted to use surveillance as a weapon, I was ready to turn it into a trap. The idea came to me in a rush of desperation. For months I'd been reacting, scrambling to defend myself against her lies, her cameras, her poison. But now, I had leverage. My mother finally saw the truth, and that gave me a fighting chance. If my sister loved surveillance so much, then it was time to turn her obsession into her undoing. We started small. I bought 2 discrete cameras online, models even thinner than the ones she'd used. I placed one in my mother's living room, angled toward the door, and another in the kitchen, tucked where only I knew to look. Mom hated the idea of being watched, but she understood. This was the only way to catch her red-handed. Then we waited. Days passed with silence, but the tension was suffocating. Every time a car slowed in front of the house, my heart lurched. Every creak of the floorboards at night had us holding our breath. Mom barely slept, jumping at every sound. I hated dragging her into this, but it was the only way. And then, one night, it happened. Around 2 a.m., the front door creaked open. A shadow slipped inside, slim, deliberate, wearing gloves. My sister. She moved like she'd done it 100 times before, heading straight to the kitchen cabinet. She reached up, pulling down a small device. Another hidden camera. My own cameras caught everything. Her face, her actions, her crime. I watched the footage back later, shaking with adrenaline. For once, the evidence wasn't forged. It wasn't twisted. It was pure, undeniable truth. But I knew it still wasn't enough. She would claim it was edited, doctored, manipulated like she had done to me. I needed her to confess. Out loud. On tape. And I had a plan to make her do exactly that. Catching her on camera planting devices was a breakthrough, but I knew my sister too well. If I presented that footage, she'd twist it instantly. It's edited. Deep fake. He set me up. People wanted to believe her. It was easier than admitting she was a monster. No, I needed something undeniable. A confession. Her voice, her words, admitting what she'd done. The setup had to be flawless. I enlisted Mark again. Despite the risks, he refused to back down. If she slips once, she'll slip again, he said. Together, we staged a plan. Mom would invite my sister over for coffee, pretending to be shaken and desperate. She'd play the role of the weary mother begging for peace, begging her daughters to stop fighting. Meanwhile, I'd be hidden in the next room, recording everything. It felt dirty, manipulative. But after everything she'd done, it was the only way. The morning of the trap, Mom's hands shook as she brewed coffee. What if she doesn't fall for it? She whispered. She will, I said. She always needs to win. That's her weakness. Right on time, the doorbell rang. My sister swept in, dressed to perfection as always, her mask of innocence polished and radiant. She hugged Mom with fake warmth, glancing around the room like she already suspected something. Mom stuck to the script. Sweetheart, I can't handle this fighting anymore. Your brother's breaking apart. I just need to know the truth, from you. Off the record. No one else will hear it. For a moment, my sister hesitated. Then she smirked, leaning back in her chair. You want the truth? Fine. Yes, I ruined him. I made everything up. I had to. He was always the favorite, always one step ahead. I just leveled the playing field. My breath caught. She was saying it. Out loud. But then, as if the universe was testing me, her eyes flicked toward the hallway, toward me. And she smiled. And if you think you can use this against me, she said, raising her voice, you'll regret it. The recording burned in my pocket like a live wire. My sister's words, dripping with spite, replayed in my head. Yes, I ruined him. I made everything up. It was the moment I'd been waiting for. Proof. Undeniable, unspinnable proof. And yet, when she turned her gaze toward the hallway and smiled, my blood ran cold. She knew. Somehow, she'd sensed the trap, and now she was daring me to use it. The next 24 hours were the longest of my life. Mark helped me clean the audio, isolate her voice, sharpen the video angles. Every second of it was clear, her smirk, her admission, her arrogance. We packaged it into a file that no one could claim was doctored, and then we sent it out. The first journalist to bite was a local news anchor tired of covering fluff. Within hours, the clip aired on the evening broadcast. Her words echoed across living rooms, phones, and laptops everywhere. Yes, I ruined him. I made everything up. Social media exploded. Hashtags with her name trended alongside hashtag liar exposed and hashtag justice for him. The comments that once condemned me now turned on her like a mob. How do you sleep at night after destroying your own brother? This woman deserves prison. Protect this man at all costs. I should have felt relief, but instead, a sick tension grew in my chest. Because exposure wasn't the end. It was only the beginning. That night, my sister called me. Her voice was low, almost calm. You think you've won? She whispered. You just set off a war you can't control. You don't know what I've buried, who I've spoken to, what else I've prepared. You've only seen the first layer. Before I could respond, she hung up. And a minute later, my phone lit up again, not with a call, but with a new message. A video file. This time, not of me, of my mother, crying, tied to a chair. The video auto-played before I could even process what I was seeing. My mother, tied to a chair in what looked like a dim basement. Her wrists bound with duct tape, tears streaking her cheeks. The camera zoomed in just enough to catch the fear in her eyes. And then, my sister's voice off-screen. Calm. Cold. See what happens when you try to fight me. I nearly dropped the phone. My entire body went rigid with panic. This wasn't just manipulation anymore. It wasn't rumors, forged files, or hidden cameras. This was physical. Real. She had crossed a line I never thought she'd dare to cross. I called the police, hands trembling. But as soon as I explained, the officer's tone shifted into that familiar doubt. Sir, if this is about the videos going viral, maybe we should. Listen to me. I shouted into the receiver. She has my mother tied up. She sent me the proof. If you don't act now, she'll. The line went quiet. Then a sigh. We'll look into it. I hung up before I said something that would land me in cuffs. My heart pounded as I stared at the screen, replaying the clip again and again, trying to catch any detail, an object, a sound, a wall, that could tell me where she was holding Mom. And then I saw it. Barely visible in the corner of the frame, a faded poster. A local community theater production from years ago. I remembered it because we had both been in it. The basement of that theater had a storage room, dark and forgotten. It was the perfect place for her to stage this nightmare. I grabbed my keys, adrenaline flooding my veins. I knew it was a trap. She wanted me to come. But I didn't care. Because this time, she wasn't just trying to ruin my life. She was threatening the only person who still believed in me. And I was ready to face her, no matter the cost. The drive to the old theater blurred past me in streaks of headlights and pounding heartbeat. Every instinct screamed it was a trap, but the thought of my mother tied up in that basement drowned out every fear. The building was exactly how I remembered it. Peeling paint, boarded windows, the faint smell of mildew even from outside. I slipped inside through the side entrance, flashlight in hand, every creak of the floorboards echoing like thunder. The basement door was cracked open. I descended slowly, the beam of my light cutting through the dust. And there she was, my mother, tied to a chair just like in the video. Her eyes widened when she saw me, muffled cries spilling from behind the tape on her mouth. Relief surged through me, but before I could reach her, a voice rang out from the shadows. Careful, brother. Wouldn't want to ruin your big finale. My sister stepped into the light, camera in hand, her smile sharp as glass. She looked more like a director than a villain, calm, rehearsed, relishing every second. You came, she said, tilting her head. I knew you couldn't resist playing the hero. Always so predictable. I clenched my fists. Let her go. She laughed, circling us. Oh, I will. Once you admit it, on camera. Say you're unstable, that you fabricated everything to make me look bad. Do that, and maybe I'll let Mom walk out of here. My stomach twisted. She wanted me to destroy myself publicly, to undo all the proof I'd gathered, to trade my life for my mother's freedom. But then I remembered the cameras I had set up days ago. Hidden, waiting, recording everything. I let her rant, let her push and prod, until her own mask slipped. Her voice sharpened, venom dripping. You think you can beat me? I've ruined you once. I can ruin you again. You're nothing without me. That was it. The confession. The arrogance. All caught on tape. Before she realized, Mark stepped out from the shadows, holding a live-streaming phone. Smile, he said. The whole world's watching. My sister froze. The color drained from her face as the comments started pouring in. Thousands of them, flooding in real time, calling her out, demanding justice. Her lies were finally shattered. Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. And for the first time in years, I felt free.